Yeah.
And the other thing is the Celtics brought in Thompson, and they have what we all think may or may not be, but I would say most likely is the emergence of Rob Williams, Time Lord.
Okay, good. I want to get into Rob.
Yeah, although what's up with and John, you mentioned this, what's up with his minutes tonight? Because only 11 minutes coming off a game where we all thought we saw, the light sort of go off despite his, being pretty hard on himself.
Not just
on that last foul.
Brad said
a lot of people.
Brad.
Right. So
he said he's the best center.
Brad said the reason he played tonight is he was our best big. Nothing changed. It's 2 days later. You're playing the same team. Stands to reason if he played well against this team before, you should give him more of a shot. He was nowhere to be found early, which was very surprising. Thompson was playing extremely well, and that's fine. Nobody got into foul trouble. But Tice has been brutal right now. And so I know you don't want to give up on a guy who is so important and integral to your success last year, and he's such a revelation and really just an unsung hero last year, and everybody loved everyone was a big I don't think there's a lot of people who are not Tice guys, but right now with Thompson in there, it's hard to argue. If you're gonna lobby for minutes between the two guys, if Thompson is the anchor, I want to see more Williams than I want to see Tice. I guess it's situational. I just don't understand Williams 11 minutes because when he came in, he was dynamite again, instant energy, as Bobby mentioned. That unit that he was part of spurred the comeback. And again, you're wondering where was this?
Yeah, there's a case for him to start, frankly. He's so good with Tatum and Brown, the pressure they take off the ball handling that they draw. If you have him diving to the rim, that's 10 instant points there over steady minutes. So it's efficient. Right. It's affecting shots on the other end. Brad always talks about that, affecting shots. He may not be the best positional defender, but he's always going to affect shots with that shot blocking that he brings to the table. And we're seeing strides with him. And the energy on a team that looks dead, lifeless on the defensive end right now, he's giving more effort, energy, intensity on that end of the floor than anyone else is right now. And when he gets in, stuff happens. He is a plus 41 per 100 to start this year.
And that's the thing is, we focus so much with Williams. This is the strange conversation around Williams. I guess I don't know what it is that he does, but it's so easy to point out what he doesn't do well. He jumps out a little bit too much. He's not great on the perimeter. He goes for every shot fake. It seems like sometimes he looks a little lost. People talk about focus issues, but the good clearly outweighs the bad. It's not like the other people you're talking about competing with for minutes are flawless. They have lots of things in their game that you also.
And the analytics love him.
And the analytics, right? He's an analytics darling. I mean, when you shoot basically 90% from the field, which it feels like he has since the bubble last year, that helps the analytics. But just in terms of what he does out there, he's always a plus-minus leader in limited minutes. You always see him on the floor during these runs. It's strange. I don't know. It could be the genius of Brad. This could be the place where, Brad might not get enough credit. He's using him at exactly the right times, and any more might be too much. So maybe, you start asking for more Rob Williams, you get it, and you get the full Rob Williams experience, and you're like, okay, tamp it down. So I don't know.
We might get that tomorrow night. I think he's setting this thing up for the second night of a back-to-back. Daniel Tice has struggled, and I think he's we're going to see him get his 25 plus or around that area next time we see him. No? You guys don't think so?
Yeah, he's got to, and I'm not going to rip Tice as hard as John did, but he had a rough night tonight. He played with Grant in that bench unit. That kind of hurt him a little bit, but it's hard to argue that Rob hasn't been better so far.
Yeah. I'm not ripping him again. Just go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was going to Grant just pulling everybody down with
He is. I mean, he's been that bad.
The anchor.
When Grant checks in, everyone else is on the bench looking down. They're like,
that third quarter was all Grant minutes.
I don't want to go in. I'll go in later.
I'm good, Coach. Yeah, I'm actually not feeling too well right now.
They could play Tice at the 4 too in those. I mean, they start at the 4 to play these games because you got to find someone. I mean, Javonte.
John, positions don't matter anymore.
They don't.
Positions don't even matter.
You just need more. You need more space. You need more shooters. I just don't know what Tice does out there when you have another.
There's no perfect option, John. I mean, when we don't love Grant
there isn't
either.
But when you don't have a traditional big, it's just a tough tough play.
Well,
I think against a team like this with Turner, you really need more of a perimeter defender on him anyway. So it doesn't really matter. It's just Sabonis you have to account for. So you really only need one guy to muscle there, and not be super concerned with it. I got it, I guess, in the first couple of games because of the Durant, Durant and a classic big component, and the same thing with Giannis and Lopez there. Different matchups. I just don't see. I don't know how much longer Brad sticks with it. That double big lineup. Yeah, I'd rather see Tatum at the 4. You
didn't like that give and go? That was pretty. Pretty good looking. Come on.
It's the one thing they've done together all year. Jimmy, you were gonna say something.
The only thing.
No, I was gonna. I mean, when it comes to like lineups and who should start and whatnot, I mean, I kind of defer to you, Bobby, because you kind of have a pretty good idea on the most effective lineups and stuff like that. We all talk about like, oh, it doesn't really matter who they start; it matters who finishes. So that's what I'm really more looking for is down the stretch tonight, like who's in the game, at the points that they need to. Listen, yeah, Tice hasn't had a great start, but we all know what he's capable of in value to this team. I mean, I still would rather have him shooting the ball than Robert Williams, obviously. So it really depends on who is out there with him. Tice is going to have his good games, and so is Rob. And I think like last year we were begging for somebody at that 5 position to be effective other than Tice, and now it seems like there might actually be 3 players, on any given night that can be that guy. So I think that's going to be something that Brad's going to have to figure out over time is who works well with who. And we just talked about Rob being in that starting lineup because he's, has a good thing going with Tatum and Brown. And maybe that's ultimately the factor. And if you can say, oh, Thompson's going to come off the bench, I don't know if that's going to be cool with Thompson, but he certainly is a nice guy to have in a second unit.
It's tough to set him down. He did start the game so well.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's also all temporary. The missing pieces, Jimmy, obviously with Kemba being out, and we got to get to Kemba before we wrap it because that's the last thing I want to talk about. But with Kemba being out and Romeo, again, I don't know what you're going to count for, but honestly, Romeo's the type of guy who you would, if he were healthy right now, give some looks and even consider as a starter in place of a Javonte Green type, because you want to get back to that 3-wing lineup with a single big and a guard. And again, when Kemba's back out, putting Smart back on the bench. I don't think that's the worst thing. I think they'll probably go Kemba, Smart, Tatum, Brown, and 1 big when Kemba's back. But also, again, the TPE option, again, we joke about it. Whoever that ends up being may very well be someone who can plug into a starting lineup, even if they are more of a role player type person, because they fit the mold of what it is you're looking for. It is imperfect. They have no wing depth right now. They actually have big depth, which is why they're starting Tristan Thompson, because as Bobby said, as all of you guys said, nothing else really makes sense right now.
Yeah, lots of bigs here. You might even see Tice gone by the end of the year, and I've said this, expiring contract, gonna make some money next offseason. He might be the odd man out there eventually. We'll see though.
You know. But again, at some point, you gotta get his mixtape ready. You gotta sell him. You gotta get him. Give him a couple of good games.
This is all gonna matter on who they play.
Make him look nice.